December the 20th, 2025. Rob Browne.
Turkey Day. Turkey Day's around the corner, Bob.
I know. Turkey Day, a week from today. All turkeys are on standby. Do not go outside. Don't go out to play.
Get in my belly.
National champion sweatshirt that Brendan Martin has on.
Rob.
Hey, it's a big day, too.
Oh, my.
Hey, your dad just texted me and made me, I'm so fired up. They're going to send a copy of Franz Beard's book, The Golden Season, about Florida's national championship basketball season. We're going to get Franz to talk about that. This is big stuff. Really big stuff going on right now. We got 8 channels, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube simultaneously. Take a picture with your phone of the QR codes as we broadcast live streaming all over the place. And then after that, Brendan puts up reels and all kind of stuff. Got a great show today with, wow, the chair just fell down. And okay, here we go. But nothing like being in a hotel. But we got John Hartwell, 3 doors down from me. Matt Dean in Memphis, the coach. Yan Cowart is going to join us. And Yan is an example of what you do with a college degree. GMC, sports architecture. They do athletic facilities all over the country. What's going on in the arms race? NIL, is it sucking money from the facilities? We're going to find out. And Gary Harris just announced he has got an emergency came up. So if we can get Franz to come on the show at about 9:40 Eastern to talk about his new book, I would love that if that's possible, if he can join us. So anyway, let's get started. Gentlemen.
That's a nice way of sending Brendan, but you text Franz and see if he'll come on.
Yeah, I just got that text. Okay, I'm sorry, but this is a book, guys. Franz has written a book about the Florida National Championship basketball season. It's edited by Buddy Martin and Carlton Reese. And I'm telling you what, you talk about being born on home plate and thought you hit a grand slam. You did. You got Buddy Martin and Carlton Reese helping edit a book. I am fired up to read this thing. John, in the camo, love it over there. It's raining in Little Rock. Lot to talk about today. All the rankings are out, the CFP rankings. We know where they are. I want to get started before Yan joins us about a quarter after. I'll start with you, Matt. You start thinking about 25 or 30 schools legitimately think there's still a path for us to make the playoffs. Isn't this great for college football? I think the more the merrier, but I'm all for straight seeding, no set-asides.
Hey, good morning, guys. Great to be back on with you. I think, right now with the SEC, we're sitting at 5 in the top 10, right? And we have, I was even looking today, you look at like Vandy at 14, the year they've had, if they can finish strong and finish with 2 losses, we have some people in the conversation, guys, we've really never had before.
Yeah.
Even outside of our league, I look at the year Texas Tech has had. I mean, they're at 5 right now. Everyone talks about their linebacker, Jacob Rodriguez. They're saying he's one of the best players in college football. But I'm real curious, like your guys' thoughts. It's been a while. It's interesting how we have some teams. Not that they're fading, but you're down 30-3 at half at home against South Carolina. The half full guys are going to say, glass half full guys are going to say, what a comeback. But some people are going to say, how the heck did you get down at home 30-3 to South Carolina? And I'm talking about A&M, who I think is a team that could win this whole thing.
Yeah.
But I think, John, you're a former Division I college basketball player. When you get to that, going to a basketball analogy, you get to the second half of your schedule, everybody's got tape on you. And everybody finds ways to make things more competitive. And that's what we're seeing. And sometimes the parity in our league hurts us in terms of probably the number we're going to get. I still think we're going to get 5. But I tell you what, Rob, I think that Iron Bowl's a huge game. Auburn may have one in them. I would hate to be Alabama and either lose that game or if they get to the SEC championship game, they got to be in, right, regardless of the result of that game, I'm guessing.
Well, I'm just going to tell you this, and Kevin Skarbinski brought this up one time. When Kalen DeBoer first got to Alabama as the head coach, ready for this? He was giving people, here's my cell phone number. Give me a call. I I don't recommend doing that. If you lose the Iron Bowl this year, you may want to find underground housing. John Hartwell.
No
Yeah,
doubt.
I mean there's a couple of games this weekend. You know, there's I guess 4 matchups that are league games that are intriguing, and then I would say the rest of the games are mostly layups. I don't know that there's anything as a sure thing win, but you know, as Rob reminded me yesterday, Mercer I think has won 9 games in a row. That's who goes to Auburn this weekend. So you never know. But next weekend there are several intriguing matchups. Probably not the least of which Rob talked about the Iron Bowl, but look at the Egg Bowl as well. Ole Miss traveling to Mississippi State. Again, everybody's kind of got a foregone conclusion. Ole Miss is in the CFP, and I think they will be because, you know, a second loss I don't think is going to ding them out.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, you look at what happens in Auburn, and if there's a third loss for Alabama, is there a debate about Alabama getting in? It'll be really interesting.
Yeah. Well, you start thinking about these matchups this weekend. Tennessee goes to Florida. Tennessee's like 2-17, haven't won down there since 2003. Tennessee's season, they've already got 3 conference losses. This could be 4. You don't know what Florida team's going to show up. It's a strange time we're in right now, but I do know this. If Texas A&M wins the Southeastern Conference Championship, was it this show? Which day was it that I said we're all going to wear white cheerleader, those jumpsuits they wear? I don't know where you get those, but we're doing it if they win it, and we're going to learn those cheers. And I'll tell you something else. The Egg Bowl, those teams hate each other. That ought to be on, you know, WWE SmackDown. Vince McMahon ought to be, you know, calling that one. Ole Miss coming in there with, you know, they're going to be 11-1 if they win that game. Mississippi State, their whole season could be flipped on the right side by getting a win. Matt, you're looking at the rankings. We had Jarrett Johnson from 247 Sports covers Texas Tech on with us yesterday. He knows Cody Campbell, who's their version of John Hamm, the billionaire oil guy from Landman, who just died, but Cody's still living. End of last year, people were saying to Cody Campbell at Texas Tech, hey, we need an offensive line. Will you get us one? He goes, I will. And he is spending money. He made $4.5 in the sale of his oil and gas company. And by the way, just let me correct something. Yesterday, I was admonished by a friend of mine, Stephen Patrick Walsh in Atlanta, who said, Bobby, Lubbock is not in the Permian Basin. It's what's called the South Plains region of Texas. Midland, Odessa, we know that, are in the Permian Basin, but it's money central out there. So, Matt, here's where I'm going. What's going to happen in Austin if North Texas State, Texas A&M, and Texas Tech all make the CFP playoff, and on the 40 acres, they're just watching as a spectator? How's that going to go over?
I think everyone's got to realize too, though, and I agree with what you're saying, but the last 2 years, Texas has contended for a national championship.
Yes.
And in this world we live in, it's truly a form of pro football, which means your roster is going to change every year. You're going to hit on some guys. You're going to miss on some guys. You're going to lose some guys to the NFL that are really good football players, which Texas did. So that being said, I think Texas, you know, you open up the year at Ohio State, a game I think all of us thought they would go and win. We thought, and maybe I'm not speaking for the whole group, but we thought it would be a good game for Texas to prove that this was kind of Arch's coming out party, so to speak. Well, we were kind of mistaken. They were deficient in some areas, and even as the season has progressed, you look at the wins at Kentucky in overtime, the Mississippi State win. Rob, they're fortunate they don't have 5 losses.
Yeah.
I mean, so the reality is you can say what you want. It's toughness of schedule, graduates from the people. What Texas Tech did is they decided they're going to spend money. And if you do that, you have a chance to be competitive. Yeah. And, you know, it really happens in the basketball world because we're not talking about a roster size like football. You go out, and Coach Hartwell knows this. I said Coach Hartwell, you know, former AD Coach Hartwell, whatever. But you can go out and you can change the culture in 1 year in college basketball. I commend Texas Tech for kind of changes in 1 year in football. That's kind of unheard of, in my opinion. I know they were on the periphery, but to now be a top 5 team and probably host a first-round playoff game, or, gosh, they could even sneak into a 4 seed and have a bye, Rob. I think if you're at UT Austin right now, you're having some conversations about how do we support Arch better next year. They're obviously looking in the portal right now. You got to figure out what your needs are, and that's the world we live in. So from my standpoint, kudos to A&M, kudos to Tech. Great story in North Texas, but is it really that shocking that Texas is taking a step back? It's hard to stay at that level. Not all of us are Nick Saban or Kirby Smart.
Yeah, and Sarkisian, as Dave Bartu has pointed out, underwhelms the talent every year a couple of times. An elite play caller, as Dave Bartu says, but not an elite coach. And what is an elite coach? You're going to have 2 or 3 losses in today's world. John Hartwell, John's wearing camouflage. I'm trying to find it. I love the hoodie. Local boy hoodies. MJ got me hooked on those things as he's driving up from the coast. By the way, guys, in 48 hours, we'll be strapping up limits of ducks. Duck season starts November 22nd, 30 minutes before sunrise. Wow, you better have your plug in your gun and your license. You're going to get in trouble. But, John, we're talking about what's going on, the money thing at Texas. You know Chris Del Conte, the athletic director out in Austin. And I'm going to ask you this question. I'm serious. You're a CPA. You got the visor on and the fan on your desk. You know what I'm talking about. When you've got that many money people.
No pocket protector in this shirt.
That's right. That's right. And I noticed that. But when you think about all these people with money coming at you, how do you keep some order in there versus the chaos? Because a room full of J.R. Ewings, that's tough to handle.
Yeah, it is. And Matt, as always, made great points about what's some of the dynamics in the state of Texas. And I can tell you this, Arch Manning or not, the Longhorn faithful are not going to have a whole lot of patience for it. And you hate to call it mediocrity when you have 3 losses, but everybody talks about the ascent of Texas Tech football and the NIL investment. Well, I promise you, there are just as many, if not more, deep pockets in the Austin alumni base as there is in the Texas Tech alumni base in Lubbock and surrounding areas. So that one's going to be interesting to see what adjustments are made. I know that Sarkisian has responded to some media questions and concerns about his longevity in Austin. Yeah. But it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah. All right. Let's bring in Yan Cowart from GMC Architecture. Yan is a perfect example, folks. Grew up over and I'm looking for Yan. Here you go. Yan, batter up. Next man up. Here he comes. Yan, how are you?
Yan, good morning.
Yan grew up over in the Black Belt of Alabama, in Lowndes County or Dallas County, in Selma, Alabama. This is an example of what I talked about of a student athlete, what really is NIL. Yan walked on at Auburn when I was there, played football for a kind man who was very soft and easy, Pat Dye. And you're tougher than a nickel steak. You're my dad. You're one of his heroes because he goes, that guy played football, started 4 years, architecture, and my God, what a story. But Yan, first off, thanks for taking time to join us this morning. Are you in Fairhope or Montgomery? I'm not sure where you are, but wanted to get your perspective on the arms race in college athletics and what NIL and all that's doing to the facilities race.
Well, good morning, Rob. Thanks. No, I'm actually in Birmingham this morning, so I'm moving around the state today, but headed to Auburn later on. But
okay.
Yeah, we thought when this whole thing started from a design perspective, we've always done facilities based upon the fact that they were recruiting tools, right?
Yeah.
You had to have what was better than the next guy in order to enhance your appearance and be able to attract those athletes. And we thought that it would take a hit with have I lost y'all? But
we're
anyway,
good. We got you.
It would take a hit with the NIL, but what we're seeing is that it's just shifted because now ADs are focused and universities are focused more on ROI for those facilities. And and producing income, and they've still got to generate them to, the premium level type clubs. And now, locker rooms used to be utilitarian, but now they're looking for sources within those locker rooms to get a return on that investment. So it's still going. It's still moving just at the same pace as it was before.
Okay. Because I talked to my friend Chris Gary, Tigers Unlimited at Auburn. I know a lot of those guys. What's funny? As crazy as it sounds, in the worst years, and the last few have been tough at Auburn and Florida and a lot of schools, that's some of your best fundraising years you ever have, because people say, okay, what do you need so we can get out of this ditch? Isn't that what you see?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think even the alternate sports have really had an effect on that too, right? We're doing a lot more nicer facilities for softball and soccer and tennis, and because there's people out there that have made money in their careers that came from those sports as well. So not just football. So it's attracting a broader base to try to make up that gap.
Yeah. Bring in Matt Dean, who's a former AD at Rhodes College up in Memphis, the most beautiful inner city campus in America, but also has a son on the staff at Oregon. So he's wired into this. And that's John Hartwell, who's moving to Fairhope. Y'all got to get together for shrimp and grits when he gets down there. He's a Mobilian originally. But Matt, jump in here with Yan Cowart.
Hey, Yan, it's a pleasure to be on with you. I agree everything you said, especially in the locker room realm. We're even seeing it at Rhodes College. We're non-scholarship Division III. We don't have really an NIL platform, comparatively speaking, to the bigger schools, but we definitely are in a fundraising mode every year to try to improve our locker room space. And I've just been amazed in the last, I've been here 35 years, how the locker room design has, you can take a blank canvas, you walk in there, you're like, this is just a really terrible space. And you give some people like yourself a chance to jazz it up. It's just remarkable, I think, what has gone down the last 3 decades in locker room space.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. And branding and social media has driven a lot of that. You've got those Instagram moments from those locker rooms that are a reflection of your drive and your commitment to that program. And it hits a lot more eyes now than it did 20 years ago. Right, those things. So it makes it worthwhile to be able to really broadcast your program and your commitment.
Yeah, and you look at the Hefner Center at Florida, the Woltzolt Center at Auburn, which you all designed. Cost-wise, what was the cost of the Woltzolt Center from original to what it came in at? Because if you use an architect, you're always going to be under budget. I'm a little biased.
Well, there's a difference between construction and actual project budget. Yeah. But if you look at it from a project budget, it was about $92 million. For it's 240,000 square feet with the indoor. So, and those are, that was a good price. I'm telling you, that was a great price for that facility at that time. Because now it's that similar facility. It was right before COVID, and we hadn't hit the escalation yet. That building would be probably 130, 140 million today.
In just 5 years, less than 5 years.
Right.
John Hartwell, CPA, also a former AD now with College Sports Solutions. Jump in here. I know you love these numbers, John.
I do. Hey, Yan, how you doing this morning? Great to be on with you as well. Hey, so I was reading an article earlier this morning from the folks at Elevate College who help folks be creative in terms of ticketing, sponsorship, multimedia rights, driving revenues, which is really important to every school, regardless if you're at a Power 4 institution, NAIA, everybody's looking for additional dollars to be able to fund their program, because there's a clear correlation between investment in and success output. You can look across the country and see that. But I thought it was interesting because some numbers in that article, and I'm going to forward it to Rob and get him to forward to you and get our contact stuff. But it says just amongst the Power 4, entering a $5.8 billion stadium renovation cycle. I know that's music to your ears and the folks in the construction industry, but here's a really interesting thing that I thought was spot on. It said, it is focusing, these renovations have three primary focuses for most people out there. Premium seat optimization. So you're actually seeing some folks lower their overall seating capacity to put in more premium seating, which helps drive revenues. The second one, activating the stadium beyond game day. So it's not just 6 or 7, 8 days a year that it's utilized. There are concerts, there are tractor pulls, there's all kinds of stuff people are doing to be creative from a revenue standpoint. And finally, and not least of which has always been an important priority, meeting rising fans' expectation. So, but the other point in this article talks about that on the vast majority of campuses, and probably unequivocally at the Power 4 level, the most valuable and most under-leveraged physical asset of the university is the football stadium. So can you talk a little bit about some of those things, and if you're seeing those same things?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a great point, John.
Yeah.
You're seeing projects. I don't know if you've seen recently, Wake Forest is doing a big project outside of on their campus, not right next to their stadium, but close. Entertainment districts. You know what universities have found is that why send? We've got 20,000, 30,000 students captive here for 4 years every year. Why it hurts the local community to some degree, but why let that revenue, those dollars spent, go off campus? Why don't we capture it here? And to your point, I said 20 years ago that it was just evident. We try to follow trends and think to the future of what's going on. I knew the 100,000 seat stadium is just a thing of the past. I mean, nobody is going to go and sit in the upper deck in the heat on a hard bench when they can sit under a tent and drink a beer and watch it on an 85-inch TV adjacent to the stadium. Still get everything, the whole environment of the game, but do it from a comfort level. So you're correct. All these stadiums are looking for ways to convert existing bench seats, 18-inch wide, uncomfortable, in the heat, in the rain, into premium chair back, comfortable with food service, off your app to your phone, and club space. And you think about all of the market that, again, you've got 30,000 people coming through there every year. If you could move that needle 1% a year from each one of those people donating back to your program by giving them something at a football game or at an event or on campus, even non-football, then your revenue pile starts building pretty quick, compounding. Compounding is a fabulous eighth wonder of the world, so they say. But
yeah,
and I tell you, that Elevate group is a fantastic group. Anybody that can search them, Google search them, and get some of their articles, they are on the cutting edge of this. And the next big wave, I think, is even from a technological standpoint, AI and Oculus glasses. And, could you put a 360-degree camera on the 50-yard line and, maybe kill 2 seats, but sell that seat 2,500 times to people who just don't want to leave their house, but want to feel like they're at the game.
Yeah.
And experience everything about it. Those are the things people are thinking about right now. Weddings. Who would ever thought having wedding receptions in stadiums? But it's a real.
I would.
Thing.
Yeah. I was on a podcast earlier this week with a couple other folks, ADs in the industry, and a couple of people who've been involved for a while, talking about the increase in the number of institutions who are charging for tours of their facilities, which, is brilliant. Jerry Jones started this, back in 2009 or 10 with Jerry's World out there in Arlington. But I think a lot of times those of us who are fortunate enough to be involved in college athletics or have some of those opportunities, that you've got people in the state of Alabama who can't afford to go to an Auburn game or an Alabama game or whatever, but they would probably pay $10, $15 to a head to take their family on a tour of Jordan-Hare Stadium to be able to get a family photo at the 50-yard line. So again, in today's environment of, hey, we've got a no stone unturned for a revenue opportunity, you see more and more folks doing this.
Yan?
Absolutely. It's exciting. You know, it's really moving forward.
Yeah, and you know, you talk about the person that doesn't want to leave their house and watch on a camera at the 50-yard line. Let's go back in time in the early 80s, because I remember this growing up. WGN, WTBS, the Superstation. You know, you would come home in the afternoon and Harry Carey and Steve Stone would be broadcasting the Cubs games. And Harry would always be mindful to say in about the 6th or 7th inning before he got too drunk and would fall out of the, you know, press box into the thing doing the take me in the, you know, take me out to the ballpark. He would say, I want to say hello to all the shut-ins and the orphans at St. Cecilia's Convent down in Springfield, Illinois. But you got a captive audience. And so go back 4 years ago when the Braves won the World Series out at Houston against the Astros. And Chuck Oliver, who went to Auburn with me, does a great show out of Atlanta every day, called them the TBS kids. You had raised generations, and there were more Braves fans in Houston pulling for the Braves when they won the World Series than there were Astros fans. Are we going to that possibly in college football? Because you know as well as I do, I go to your tailgate tent, and I go to all these ones. I go to the Sigma Newhouse. You go to a game at Auburn or Florida or Alabama, there's 90 to 100,000 people inside the stadium. There's 50 or 60,000 tailgating in those white tents and those turnkey deals. That's what I call it, the Grove effect. This all started at Ole Miss.
Right.
That was a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the experience. It's all about the experience. You know, I mean, it's a different generation too. We're old school, right? We're used to going to football games and focusing on the football game and watching every play and analyzing and being frustrated by a coach's call. Kids today, they may not even turn around and watch the game. So you got to give them areas to where they can have a conversation with their friends. They can focus on their phone. They can do other things, still pay for the ticket to be part of the gallantry. But there's all kinds of things that are revenue that you can monetize outside of the stadium, just being part of the experience, right?
Yeah.
Of being at that event.
Yeah. Matt?
I think it's just a fascinating conversation, guys, because John, you just mentioned those the tours of what an opportunity for a family to go in to their favorite team they grew up rooting and go to the 50-yard line and take a family photo. And then every time you do that, there's a little bit of money that's going towards back to the university. I've been in this business 35 years, guys. I just think some of the things we're doing now, the idea, the concepts of the whole bring the 50-yard line into the house experience for a certain price. But I also think that's where we are. And I also think, you know, I was a season ticket holder. I still am for the Tennessee Titans, right? But I grew up a Chicago Bear fan. I've still maintained those seats. But 2 years ago, my PSL kind of ran its course, and now they're building a new stadium in Nashville. And just the conversion factor alone of what I had to pay to get my PSL now compared to what I paid back in the late 90s, early 2000s. It's amazing the revenue that's being created. It's also amazing how the utilization of those stadiums now for external revenue outside of the football game. I just think we're in a remarkable time. And, you know, I grew up a facilities guy with my background. And, you know, even at Rhodes College, if you come to our campus, it's a real beautiful college campus architecturally. But, you know, every 10 years, you need a reboot in athletics. And if you don't do that, even in our world, you know, our net tuition revenue is how we drive this college. And I promise you, we have a lot of high school student athletes that come here that are playing on much better facilities than we have at our place. And that's part of the competitive nature of this business. You know, you wouldn't think about it, but even at a school that's non-scholarship, you better have competitive facilities. Otherwise, it hurts enrollment.
Well, this whole process, if I could just jump in, Rob, again, back to the old school, it's changed, right? It's not what we had. It's not what we loved. It's not what we grew up with. But it is reality, and we've got to adjust to that. We may not like it. There's aspects of it that we go, I can't believe we're doing this, but it is the world. And if you don't get in with the path, you're going to get left behind. I mean, Dabo Swinney is a perfect example. Love the guy.
Yeah.
Hard-nosed, great coach, old school. He's hanging on, and he thinks he can force it, but it's going to catch him. It is going to catch him.
Yeah. Yan, before we let you go, and you're doing stuff not just in the South, but all over the country. And I always remember that great statue that this Lon Anthony was a great sculptor. I think he was at Rhodes College, made for my dad. It was the banker in the middle, guy in a three-piece Brooks Brothers suit with a briefcase and his reading glasses on. And on one side is the developer wearing some loud green pants and a wild Madras jacket. And there's the architect over there with a sock tie and a checkered flannel shirt and corduroy pants trying to go, don't listen to that guy. I'll keep you on your budget. But I'm going to tell you something, Yan. This is fascinating to hear. And the facilities arms race, it's changing. Dana Marquez was telling me about it at Auburn and any place in the country. You got the stadium, and y'all talked about it, a non-revenue producing asset, except for 7 or 8 times a year. But there used to be concerts. I've got a lot of friends like Wesley Duncan, grew up in Auburn and Opelika, still has his ticket stub from Elvis was supposed to come to a concert, I think, at Beard Eves Memorial Coliseum before he allegedly died August 16th, 1977. A lot of people don't, the seat just fell down when I said that, see? But the money in these, let me ask you about Florida. That stadium, that's a unique design. It goes down underground the swamp. There's talk about major changes at Florida with the stadium. And I'm curious what you know about that project and what the head ball coach and Urban Meyer and Gator Nation, because we have Brendan, my producer, and his father owned GatorBaitMedia.com. Just had a lot of Gators that watch this show.
Well, I grew up a Gator fan. My grandfather was a Bull Gator down there, so I've been to that stadium a whole bunch.
There you go.
It's happening. I mean, it's happening. They're going to spend, $500 million down there on that stadium. And it's all about those things that John articulated in that Elevate. I think Elevate may have been involved in that project to some degree. So, it's just going to continue to be there. People, David Housel, the AD at Auburn when I was there, we renovated the suites over there 30 years ago, 25 years ago originally, or built some of them. And he told me, he said, Yan, this place is Auburn's cathedral. And when you think about that, the stadium, is the one building on campus that every student at some point engages. They may not go to the chemistry building or whatever, but they're going to go. They should, but they're going to touch that stadium, and that's their memory. And it's right. Auburn's lucky. It's right in the heart of campus. Tuscaloosa, same way. It's their cathedral. It's their public square. It's where everybody that has any connection or memory, that's the first thing it goes back to. So utilize it, take advantage of that, capitalize from it, and make it an asset to your university.
Yeah. All right. So leave us with this. Let people know how they can contact you and the great folks at GMC. But you're not slowing down. This is interesting. I was just curious with NIL. There's more money than there used to be. We do know that. We had a Texas Tech guy on yesterday, Jarrett Johnson, talking about Cody Campbell, what he's doing. That would be a hell of a client for you to have as an architect. You just sit there and just like, wow.
I just like to have him as a friend.
That's right. All right. So, and you played at Auburn, and it's a different area. I was at Auburn when you were there. now we do, we're looking at the SEC, we're looking at college football, the playoff expansion, all this stuff. Just kind of your thoughts on the game right now. And Matt Stinchcomb calls the offensive line play because I said, "What's happened?" He goes, "It's pajama football. We don't have the guys like you and Steve Wallace and Randy Stokes and Jeff Lott, Bishop Reeves, Steve Wallace. I mean, just some y'all were forged like iron, and you chewed up glass and rocks and asked for seconds. Why is it so hard now? Is that just like you said, NIL, kids can go anywhere? There's a lack of continuity, is what Dave Bartu calls it.
Well, it's interesting. I'm actually going down to the game this weekend, and there's a reunion there. The '83 team, which was,
national champions,
been held, won the national championship, and they're going to finally acknowledge it, after 42 years. But and I'm kind of it's a little bit of a sad occasion, because I don't think that the kids today, because they don't have an allegiance, they can go from one school. We got kids that play at 5 different schools, right?
Yeah.
In the future, are these going to even exist anymore? When you have a reunion of a team, is anybody even going to show up, or are you going to show up with 300 people because they were there 1 year or something? I don't.
That's true.
That is true.
I've got lifelong friends that are my closest friends that are from 40 years ago. And I just worry that that's all gone with this. You've killed that kind of relationship building over time. And listen, I've got my NIL from working for 40 years, because of the relationships I built in college and the friends I made and the connections I made. I didn't get it playing. It came 40 years later because of those relationships.
Yeah.
And now I think, a lot of people are going to pay this. And then when you're gone, you're gone. You're out of their window from here on. So we'll see.
Yeah. And I call them athletic orphans, these guys, because, and I can tell you from personal experience, you and I are the same age, guys that we know that were on the scout team at Alabama, Florida, Ole Miss, Georgia, even on the scout team, they go back to that. They got just as much respect. And that you were a walk-on. I mean, you were not, given nobody's given anything, not when you played, but you were a walk-on studying in the College of Architecture. I mean, there were a lot of times you didn't sleep I know it. My dad lived it 2-3 days at a time. You're sleeping on a floor on a sleeping bag because you got a project due, and the football coaches expect you to be there too. So you're right. It's like Cole Kubelik said, every penny he's made in his life is because he stuck it out for 5 years and he worked his ass off. And I think it is such a great message. Yan, I hope you get every big job in the country, because
thank you very much, Rob.
You bought Sam Butner, Dad's best friend's architecture practice. So now that Dad's gone, you'll live on forever as my architect of record. Okay. I'm just telling you that.
Hey, Rob. Hey, Rob, can I ask Yan a quick question?
Yeah.
Put him on the spot.
I'm just trying. I know he's got a meeting. I was trying to let him out. Go ahead.
But
no, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, as an Auburn football alum, who in a perfect world, and none of us live in a perfect world, but in a perfect world, who would your choice be as the head coach? And if the answer is different, who, as we stand today on November 20th, who do you think it's going to be at Auburn?
Oh, wow, John. I tell you, to me, again, it's changed so much. I'm not sure that I hate to say this, that the head coach is that critical. You're probably, a good GM that can evaluate talent and find those guys and bring them in from a transfer portal and put them on the field. It, to me, is more important than the actual X's and O's guys. I mean, we see it all the time. Auburn goes through 6 games with a head coach that's supposed to be an offensive genius, and the next game they play the best offensive game they played all year with the OC. So you got to have somebody that can really talk to the public, can relate, and really be able to identify the talent to bring them in. And to your last second part, I got no idea who's going to be the coach. And really, I'm a little agnostic about it, to tell you the truth. I don't know that it really matters that you got to have somebody that has got some big resume or has proven that he's done it in the past, because the future is changing.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure his scheme's going to work any better than anybody else's.
That is John, and everybody, that is a hell of an answer. I mean, it's who's running that NIL collect.
Hey, Yan's got a political future. He was able to dance. He touched all the bases of that question. That was talent.
Yan 2028. Yan 2028. All right, Yan, look, let them know how they can follow you, though, and have a great Thanksgiving, and we'll do this again soon. But incredible insight and authenticity. Can't get any better.
Yeah, website's www.gmc, Goodwin Mills Kaywood, like the truck, network.com, gmcnetwork.com. And you can catch me. The easiest way to get me quickly is just my personal email, which is ykowart@gmail.com.
All right. From Bull Gator to Auburn Tiger, an incredible American story, man. I love it. Take care. Thanks for joining us.
All right, John. Hey, I look forward to meeting you. Thanks, man.
Hey, yeah. We'll have to have lunch at the Kingfisher one day soon.
Nice meeting you, Ian.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll do it. Hey, and what he just said, that really hits on having. You may have 300 people show up at a reunion. That is where we are. Guys like, well, I was here for a semester. Just go ahead, Matt.
Rob, I think he made a really good point, John. I think you would attest to this, and a lot of this is obviously at the P4 level, but man, the role of the GM, I never would have thought, John, like when I started out this business as a coach, man, I was my own recruiting coordinator. I was my own marketing director. I tried to call plays, not very successful sometimes, but these larger staffs now, and I have a little insight the last 8 years because that's what my son has been involved with in personnel recruiting and scouting. It's just amazing the networking that's going on, that people have no idea how important identifying talent, maintaining, and I think James, I was listening to some of James Franklin press conference at Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
I think that's an incredible hire. But one of the first things he said was, basically my job is to recruit our current players. And how true a statement is that? You have to evaluate what you got. You got to keep what you got, and you got to go out and make it better. And really that GM and that person that's helping you with that list is probably more important, guys, than it's ever been before. And I think you made a great point. DJ Durkin coached his butt off. Auburn scores 38 points after not getting 38 in 3 weeks, Rob. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I thought you made a great point. Oh,
he did. And I the thing about you had Derek Nix as offensive coordinator dialing up plays, and it sounded like just absolute chaos was going on at Auburn, like 2 or 3 seconds before the play. Well, try this. I mean, it was just, grab ass. It was awful. But John, I got to ask you, DJ Durkin, there's a lot of people, and you look at any staff, Billy Gonzalez at Florida. Okay. And Bobby Petrino, I don't think is going to get the job at Arkansas. I'm not sure if he's even a candidate anymore, but John, if you talk about bringing in the new coach, you're right. James Franklin's honest. I've got to recruit my own players. And when Frank Beamer came in there in 1987, I remember being up there when that press conference occurred. They would recruit, the coast over there, Virginia Beach, Hampton, that whole area, Roanoke. They recruited and they made it a priority to get the in-state kids. And there's a lot of talent in the state of Virginia. I mean, a ton of good players. So, John, if you're the AD and you're looking for a coach, let's say at Florida, you're going after Kiffin. Tell people, kind of makes sense. I like this guy. It's like, day 784 of the Lane Kiffin saga. It just goes on and on and on. When will Florida, when will LSU, when will Arkansas, Auburn have to make some decision because it's getting close to December signing date.
Yeah, the next 10 days or so are going to be really interesting. All of the chat. Well, let me go back for a second to your comment about DJ Durkin and being the DC, and obviously, he was able to rally the troops, for Auburn, and Derek Nix, who I've known for a long time. He was longtime Ole Miss assistant, did a tremendous job as well.
He did.
But here's what you've got to understand, and Matt knows this being a coach. Your coaching staff, which has grown now, from most Power 4 coaching staffs, I say coaching, but they're quality control analysts, all kinds of stuff. What used to be 8 or 10 now is 40 plus in most institutions. But as the head coach, when you make those staffing decisions, trust trumps everything else there is. And you have got to make sure that whoever you hire, and the more people it is, the more difficult it becomes. There becomes a multiplier there. And you've got to have your back. You've got to have people who are going to be in the foxhole with you and make sure that they've got your back, because you're not going to win every game as a coach. And when the chirping starts outside, you got to make sure it's locked up tight inside. So, I think some of these guys who played an interim role, no different than Frank Wilson at LSU and his ties to New Orleans, having been a long-time high school coach and high school athletic director there. It's going to be a difficult decision for whoever the new head coaches are to say, hey, this guy was hired by the previous head coach. I'm going to keep him, and I have a comfort level that he's in my circle of trust.
Yeah, great stuff, Matt. Again, your son's been in with Jimbo Fisher at A&M. He's now with Dan Lanning at Oregon. It does have to be tight. And then the recruits also. We were talking with Chris Lee yesterday, who covers Vanderbilt and Southeastern 16. He said in past years it was so bad at Vanderbilt that they wouldn't even bring the football recruits to the football games. They would take them to basketball games. It's a different world. And now, Chris said it's like fantasy land. There's so much going on in Nashville. There's country music stars on the sidelines talking to these recruits and rock stars, Kid Rock. They're taking advantage of it. I'm going to tell you, like a friend of mine said, Nashville's become the new Las Vegas. People come in there and buy some crazy looking outfits and go around getting liquored up for 3 or 4 days and then just disappear. But Monday night is no different than Friday night in downtown Nashville if you go on Broadway. And that's Vanderbilt's feeding off that energy.
It's interesting, guys. Like when we talk about the makeup of a head coach, right? And I've had the pleasure of being a head coach for a long portion of my career. I've been an assistant coach for a long portion of my career. I'm an assistant coach right now as we speak, back in it after being in John's role. I wrote this down because I think this is a paraphrase of a quote that I've always used. But when no one worries about getting credit, greater things can be accomplished.
Yep.
And I've always talked to my players about, if we win, it's because of you. If we lose, I got to be better. And I don't know what was going on in the Auburn building, but I got to tell you, I've never met DJ Durkin, but man, I've heard him at the podium, and I just know players will play hard for that guy. I really think that's a big part of it. And it always amazes me. We make these head coaching hires and we're looking for this persona, when the reality is we lost Matt.
So, Matt, here you go. Keep going. The reality is,
you heard, the reality is we should be looking for a humble servant. We should be looking for someone that's not worried about them. They're worried about the experience of the student athlete. They're able to meet with their AD at any time, beck and call, because that person is their boss, their direct supervisor. Yeah. Okay. And social media has destroyed a lot of that because we get paranoid about going on there and people saying stuff. I heard something Bo Nix talking, who I'm a big fan of Bo Nix. My son had a chance to get to know him. Man, he said, you know what? I shut down social media completely during the season. I couldn't tell you a word about what they're saying about me. And I think that's important to recognize. We're doing great things here, Rob. You're growing the numbers, but at the end of the day, everything's speculative. When you have to go 3rd and 1, 4th and 2, and make that call, and then someone criticize you about why you didn't get that first down at midfield, and they came down and scored on you for the game-winning field goal, touchdown, whatever, you got to have the ability to stand up there as a grown man and say, you know what? It was on me. My decision, not those kids. It was on me. And that's the person I'm looking for, and the person I try to be, because I had an incredible mentor. I worked for Coach Herb Hilgeman. I have the privilege of coaching on Herb Hilgeman court every day, and I still try to bring up to my players, though he's no longer with us. I talk about the lessons that he instilled in me as a young head coach that I try to instill in them as a young student athlete.
Yeah, that is solid gold, what you just said. Leaders eat last. And I had a friend of mine who built a business in Atlanta up in Buckhead. He talked to Mr. Woodruff, one of the Coca-Cola people there in Atlanta. Everybody knows who they are. And he said, son, you'll have all the success in the world. Everything you dream of will happen as long as you don't mind who gets the credit. And I never, ever saw my dad put his name on an envelope when he wrote his tithe to church at Calvary Episcopal Church. He said, God knows, I ain't worried about all that stuff. That's the bottom line. What I heard about DJ Durkin, guys, from someone who's in that football building, he said the players love him. You know why? That's why, because they know he gives a damn. He's not out playing golf. He's not out screwing around, just doing just other stuff. He is dialed in 110% to make these guys better. He has their back. You hear that about Billy Gonzalez at Florida? Frank Wilson, come on. That guy is one of the greatest recruiters in history. These guys that have taken these interim deals, the players respond to that. When someone spends time and comes in there at 5 a.m. for extra help, extra credit with you, think about growing up. Teachers, they don't want you to fail. That makes them look bad. We need more coaches that put the team first. And DJ Durkin, I like John Summerall. You better keep Durkin in some role. He's either head coach or something at Auburn, because if you don't, as Ross Perot said, that giant sucking sound you hear is going to be other teams pulling your players away in the portal. I'm telling you, Larry King, that's what's going to happen. Man, I used to love to hear that guy talk. But that's where we're going, John Hartwell, in the camo local boy hood, which that is a good-looking hoodie.
I appreciate that, Rob. Yeah, you hate to use cliches, but just to follow up on what Matt said, and this applies not only in sports, it applies in business, it applies in anything that you do, but kids are really, really perceptive. It doesn't matter if they're transferring 3 or 4 times, how much NIL money they've got. At the end of the day, if you want the people on your team making a difference and being all in, they don't care how much you know. They want to know how much you care. I mean, and again, that's an old saying. It's a cliche, but it holds true today, just like it did 20 years ago.
Yeah, it is. I hear that from every teacher, every coach, everyone I've ever respected says the same thing. They don't care about all that other stuff. Just have their back. And where we're getting away from that, we're going to get in trouble. Okay. So look, we just got a few minutes left before we go. It's been a fun show today, covering a lot of stuff. Not a lot of, marquee games this weekend, but we do have Tennessee, Florida. We got some good games. And I got to ask y'all, do y'all think Frank Duffy's right? Is there a path for the SEC to somehow, could you imagine the screaming and the just hollering if the SEC were to get 7 teams into the CFP and there's only 12? Is that even possible, Matt?
I think a lot of things are possible. The reality of the situation is I think they're getting 5. And I can see where Frank's coming from, because the reality is you have some teams that are right on that bubble. But we're really, everyone thinks it's 12. It's really 11, because we're going to have a P5 team in there, right? We know that Indiana and Ohio State are going to be 1-2, no matter where it shakes out. Just because some of it, people will say their schedule wasn't great. Some people will say the Big Ten was not top to bottom as deep, and they're right. It wasn't. I told you guys that from week 1. I follow the Big Ten more than anyone you probably bring on here, Rob.
No question.
The SEC is much deeper. But I mean, I just don't think I don't think the national committee has a stomach for it. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. And they'd have to deal with Kurt Signetti and Ryan Day, going, hey, what about us? John, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the other dynamic there, and I agree with Matt, that there may be 7 teams that are worthy of being in that top 12, but I don't think politically that can happen. And don't discount the fact that with Mac Rhodes' departure from the CFP, from being the CFP chair, to Hunter Yurachek being in that position now, that there was already a lot of scrutiny on the SEC, but I can promise you it's going to be dialed up even more as we go down the stretch here in the last couple of weeks, because it's going to be, look at this homer job. And I promise you, the folks on that committee in that conference room there in Dallas, Fort Worth, are going to be mindful of that. And I agree. I don't think it's going to be any more than 5.
Yeah, and that's what I think too. And we're going to get Rich Clark back on the show, the executive director of the College Football Playoff Committee and the lieutenant general that he is. He's watching, but yeah, Hunter Yurachek, he really needs to be focused on finding a football coach for the Razorbacks. I mean, that's the main thing he needs to do. Look, great stuff today, guys. Hang with us. We're going to say, I know it's been a wild week, y'all. Cloud Fair International. We're getting through it. We have the best executive producer in the world. And Matt, you're right. And John, you know this. It's not about one individual. It's about the team. We have an incredible team, blessed to have an incredible audience. And anything we do is because of team effort. That's bottom line how this stuff works. But I want to say Landers Ford, they are open every day of the week except Sunday. The day means more than the dollar. So they take off Sundays. Shout out to Sag's Big and Tall Shop in West Memphis, 100 years plus. But Brad Bellamy, the general manager, ask for him. They'll walk you through the process, financing a new or used car, truck, or SUV. They got the Broncos, the Expeditions, the Explorers, the Ford Escapes, the Escape. And they got a service department that will take care of you. They'll pick you up round-trip transportation. It's never a bad time to make a good purchase. You can't get better corporate partners than Kent Ritchie, Don Kitchens, Brad Bellamy, the general manager. Their names on 6 stadiums, Christian Brothers people in particular. I'm one of them. Tom Nick Stadium, Landers Field. They made a huge commitment, and it's going to get stronger going forward. Buy from LandersFordMemphis.com. Also, Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company. Guys, I'm wearing, this is one of these Duckhead new jackets that I got. They've got Filson, Barber, STS, Pendleton, Schaefer, Devil Dog jeans, Rock Mount shirts that Bob Dylan, Elvis, and Ronald Reagan always wore. Bob Dylan's still with us. He's 120. But they are open every day of the week except Sunday. Now, starting Black Friday weekend, they'll be open on Sundays from 1 to 5. HewlettandDunn.com with over 7,000 pairs of men's and women's boots. Charles Hall, his wife Laura, JM, Lydia, Raven Carpenter. Can't get better, people. You'll never look better. And Rumble Boxing, Union and McLean, Midtown Memphis. How you fight is how you live. You get one trip to the plate, you'll catch up on your sleep when you're dead. Get in the best shape of your life at rumbleboxinggym.com. And hempforpros.com. If you got aches and pains, you got trouble sleeping, our friend Dave Bartu, Lights Out Gummies, 25% off. Use code Sidelines at checkout. That is 25% off. These things work. You get the best sleep and you're more productive when you get it. Hey, most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. Go out and find ways to help other people every single day. What you say can have an incredible impact on someone's life. Be positive. Take care, and we'll see you tonight. Look, coming up shortly after the show this morning, Scarbo Knows Podcast.